Okay, hello YouTube, hello word selection community. This episode I have a unique one. I'm going to talk about a guide, or at least a very basic one. How should you play in the Stone Age? It's a very simple one, it's not going to be too long, I'm going to make it short. So, there are three questions that I thought about when I'm going to discuss this. So, the first thing, why did you come to War Selection? Why are you interested in the game? As myself as a beginner, or was a beginner, I came to War Selection for a variety of reasons. I enjoyed RTS in the past. Played with friends Age of Mythology, Age of Empires, and I want to try War Selection, and I tried it, and I was interested. It looks fun. I started to grow into the community, and now I'm here making videos on it. So definitely I had a learning curve in the game, and I definitely had to learn a lot, and I had to watch guides. But none of the guides really talked particularly about the advantages and disadvantages of every age. Something that I think was missing for the beginner, because what he had to learn is by himself every age and experience the difficulties through the matches. So my hope is that I can provide you the key details of the Stone Age, and in my next videos I will talk about the Bronze Age of Europe and Asia. Alright, so for this one, how should you start with the Stone Age? What are the main steps in Stone Age? Well, Stone Age has many aspects, but the key are you need to gather food and wood. As you can see in the top right, you have food and you got wood. They are the most two critical resources in the Stone Age. You only use them and you need them a lot. So you start with workers. This is a worker. He gathers wood, and gathers food and wood. The main food you got at the beginning is berries. And when you put a villager on it, he has a gathering rate. He has 1.1 gathering rate. When you have a worker and you put it on wood, it has a gathering rate of 1. That's the basics of the gathering. Now, this is your altar. This is your town hall, the main building, your core of your base. If you lose this, you lose the game. It's that simple. You produce villagers to here, and each one costs 50 food and 1 population. So there is a need for population. Now, the first few tips that I can give you is the following. When you start with the game, you have 10 villagers, 5 go into food automatically, and 5 go into wood automatically. You take the first 5 for food, and you put them and build in a hut. You press T. Why T? Because T is the hotkey for hut. This is increasing your population limit. Now, I saw one video and it said to remember the hotkey for hut, just remember it ends with T. Hut, like that. I think that's from Watcho, so I'll include that as a reference. So you build that hut, and in the meantime, you also produce workers. The first thing you do, you produce workers when they start building a hut. You do them at the same time. You need to be efficient. You want to lose the time on it. Now, many of you might press left click on the worker. That will only produce 1. That's not efficient. You need a lot of them, and you want the altar to work constantly, never to stop. So, here's my best advice. Right click on the mouse, produce 5. Alright? control, right click, produce 25. So just tapping 2 times with control right click, produce 50, and that should be more than sufficient throughout your duration in the Stone Age. And that solves all your issues with the altar. That's it. Alright, so you produced. So in the time that they finish this hut and they return back to produce berries, the altar will produce the worker. Here it is. You have the worker. What do you do with that worker? You build a new hut. You build 2 more huts. And then the warehouse. Now the warehouse position is critical. Doesn't matter where it is, it just has to be close to your berries. Close to your berries. Now, not close like this because I will block. You want close like this, and hopefully if you can near wood. Not like this, possible like this, or possible like this. No, this is less better. But if you can, close to your wood line and your berries to max efficiency. Alright, so this worker will build a hut and will build the berries. Okay? You'll have the population going up, your altar will work, everything's under control. You're doing everything you need to do. So where do you assign your workers? You assign them to food until you have about 10 workers. Because 10 can maintain production of workers and more. After that, you transition your altar to make workers into wood. Because you need the wood. If you right click on the wood, or if you right clicked on the berries, you will send workers into them. So that's my main advice on tea gathering. Alright, that's all you need to know about the basics on gathering. There are a few caveats, or not caveats, there are a few more ways to gather food in the Stone Age. I'll mainly talk about fish and deers, because as a beginner you will unlikely be active enough to pursue other food avenues. So your bulwark, you have that when you start. And you have, well, in a real game you won't have heavy knight, you'll have a scout, but you will have the same properties. You have high mobility and you can go around the base. You have to scout your base. If you do shift and right click on your surrounding, your scout will automatically do the pathing that you selected. And now he's doing exactly that. If you find deers, and there will be deers somewhere, try to force them into your bulwark range. This is the bulwark range. And then you tell the bulwark to kill or to hunt the deers. The deers will provide the same amount of food as berries, and they are much more efficient to gather. So this is another avenue of food that you can get, and you should try and get. Now, you might have noticed there's a bear there. Do not send your villagers into the wild. It is a dangerous environment. They will get hunted by animals. The world is dangerous, and you don't want to lose them. So that's why I recommend for the beginners just to take the berries, and if you have a fish nearby, then take it. You'll know if you can gather the fish when you take the villager and right click on the fish. It will let you know if you can gather that. It's usually near the coast, so you know it. And that's mostly about the food. So what next you need to know? Let's see on my list. Okay. Hotkeys. Like I said initially, hut with T, warehouse with Y. You can remember warehouse that it's near the T. So if you have a T, that's hut, Y is near it, and F is the fort or fighting pits. That's how I remember it. And B is stonecutter. You only build stonecutter once, so you don't need to remember it as much. And similarly for temple. So that's not much of an issue, but you need to remember the hut, the warehouse, and the fort. You always construct them throughout the game, and it can be very useful if you can save your time. Okay. Now, let's get to how to use the Stone Age and win as a Stone Age. That's the goal, really, right? That's what you want to do. You want to win at the Stone Age. You don't want to go to the next age. You want to win. You want to do some action. So, a lot of beginners, they play and they go through next ages really a lot. They don't use the advantages that each age has. And particularly, Stone Age has pit. Let's build a pit real quick, and I'll show you what you can get from it. Similarly, I also built stonecutter in the meantime. So you have, in the fighting pit, you have 3 units. For now, I'll make the upgrade just to show you the third unit. You have warrior, slinger, and maceman. You're gonna see the maceman very shortly. Now, the warriors, these are your main to go unit. You will not produce the slingers nor the macemen. You don't have the experience at finding out when they are efficient. So ignore those 2 units, because although they have the strengths and weaknesses, in the Stone Age it's like a stone, scissors, paper and stone. Or rock, yeah. Scissors, paper and rock. It's like that. So each one of them counter each other in a similar fashion. But for you as a beginner, that doesn't matter at all. You don't use them as the professional ones. You don't have the experience in that. So the best unit is warrior. Let me produce one. It only takes 12 seconds to produce one. It takes 1 population and 50 food. So you need the food for it. But that's not an issue. That's enough food. You can still manage to produce them with just that. So, a warrior. The base stats for a warrior is actually pretty abysmal. He has a 5 damage, he has attack speed of 1, and a range of 4. Now, the speed of the warrior is 50, and the thing that everyone's confused about is how the resistance work in the game. So, you see the percentage at the top there, 100%. So 100% of the time, every time he gets an attack, 100% he has an armor of 0. Okay. Now, if I'll upgrade his armor, you're gonna see a different percentages. So when he gets an attack, there will be different percentages for his armor. He might have a different percentage that will defend him better. Stone Age worker has 0 armor, so they die pretty quickly if you have enough stone warriors. And as you know, workers don't have a lot of attack, they don't have a lot of damage, they don't have a lot of armor, they don't have a lot of range, so they'll be in a pickle of a spot if a lot of warriors attack them. And because you can upgrade warrior speed and you can upgrade their damage, they will catch the stone workers and they will kill them. So that's why, as a beginner, you want to get the warriors. So now you see it. Now they have 50% chance of having a 2 armor. That's substantial. That's a substantial amount. That means that only warriors or other units can beat them, but particularly warriors for this discussion. Only warriors can beat warriors in a similar amount and similar upgrades. Can beat warriors. Similar strategy. Okay. So you want to make around 15 to 20 warriors and send them to your opponent base. Okay. That's what I want to do. But the question is when you want to do that. When is the time to send those 15? Well, you need to make sure they have all the upgrades. You need to make sure they have the speed. And I have not discussed, but warehouse have one particular upgrade that you need to do when you have about 125 food. You can upgrade wood production. Take that. When you have 125 food, take that upgrade. You will finish making the huts and the warehouse at that stage, and you only need to wait a bit, and then you have enough food to produce that. And there's no issues with that because your workers will produce enough. Okay. Now, this is an important one. Okay. Let's build the temple. Now you see I have the temple, I can build it. This is one of the second most important buildings and it's expensive. It takes 500 wood just to build it. So you need a lot of woodwork. Need a lot of workers working on wood. That's why I said around 10 villagers on food and the rest on wood. Because you're gonna need it. Now, there are two civilizations you can go in the game. You can go for Europe and you can go for Asia. I recommend you strongly to go for Asia as a beginner and not for Europe. The reason for that is that Asia is more forgiving for beginners. More strategies are easier to do with Asia. And particularly, you can do Stone Warriors Rush. You can build them and you can go to the next age with Asia and that will work perfect with warriors. So yes, go for Asia. But that's not the point of this video. I'm not gonna talk about how you should play as Asia. I'm just saying, when you want to do warriors, go for Asia. Because that will be much more easier for you in the long run. Okay. So, you have about 15 to 20 warriors, right? Send them to your opponent base. What do you do with them? How do you accomplish your... See those 15? It's a massive amount. Those 15 will make havoc at your opponent base. Because, imagine you have a group of villagers. And you send 15 warriors. You get them surrounded and start killing them. You press Q at the ground next to the villagers and they attack them. For example, you remember the bear? We had the bear nearby us. Sure, you can click and right click and that's attacking them. Or click the surrounding with Q that will attack along the road and they kill him. That's it. Alright, so this is the main guide that I have to give you. This is the main guide. There is not much more to say. Just remember, when you have the wood, when you have a lot of wood, and you finish producing the pits and the wood is rolling, go to the next stage. Around 5 minutes, go to the next stage. It's gonna take you some time. It requires 500 wood. And fighting pits don't require any wood to produce warriors, just require food. So eventually your food will run low. So you need to go to the next age at some point, because when those will run out, you will need to upgrade your villagers, or at least some of them. At least some of them. Not all of them, some of them. But Asia is much more forgiving if you have little food, because Stone Age workers can produce food in Asia. But that's a different episode for another video. Well, I hope my guide helped you a lot, and I will include a short run-through video how this works exactly in about 7 minutes. Yes, 7 minutes. I will include a short one where I play this, and I hope that will give you some idea. Okay? So all I said, now I'm going to put it in practice. The first thing I did when I make that is produce 50. They now return to work. Now my scout, I'm putting them to search the environment. Shift, right click on the environment. Now my new worker, I told him to construct 2 huts with a T, and I'm putting my warehouse near the berries. There are 3 berries here, and near my wood line. That's a wood line, you want that wood line. Okay. Now your food is running low, but it's producing and it's being consumed. Any food that is being consumed, it's a good spot. When it's 0, it's not good. It's being consumed and it's not 0, so it's fine. We are safe. We are safe. It's very close to 0, but it's good. It's working. Alright. Again, make another hut. I only have 3 pop. It's not a lot, but it's enough. It's enough. When you have only 2, you need to produce another hut, but the majority of the time, this villager will work mainly on producing huts, constantly. Alright, so you may have noticed some deers somewhere there. You may have noticed a boar. Without warriors, you cannot hunt those boars. It will be tricky. It will cost you. Now I have too many villagers on food, so I'm transitioning my some villagers into wood. Okay. Now I have 140 food. That's a good starting point to make the wood upgrade. Look at here, 13. That's a lot. Look, 2 population remaining. Put that villager to work. Now, something I haven't talked about in the guide. You need to build in a wall-like fashion the huts. You cannot build walls in the game. You don't have that option, at least not in the Stone Age. So huts can be your walls, and because you build a lot of them, make them in a wall-like fashion, okay? Now, you want to build your temple near the iron. It's not going to be used at this stage. It's called copper, but it's iron anyway. It's not going to be used at this stage, but it's the next stage, it's important. But I'm not going to talk about how it's going to be used in the next stage. I'm just saying, you need it. Okay. Let's start also produce the stone cutter. Because I have food, I want to use it. I need to use that, and I want to make advantage of that. Okay. Let's take 1 worker from food and assist in producing buildings. Okay? Let's make 1 stone pit. Let's make my temple here next to the iron. Your temple is like a warehouse, but it's the main building that can provide you to go to the next stage. Okay? So that's important. I have enough food production, but look at my wood. It's been consumed a lot, even with 20. So the first thing I do with my stone cutter is make those 2 upgrades, because I need to improve my armor for my warriors and improving their damage. Similarly, I want to improve their speed. Okay. 1 more hut for now. Build more fighting pits. Now 5 is enough. Okay. Let's transition 1 from there, 1 for there. Now, when I'm done with this one, I'm going to the next stage automatically, because wood is being consumed. It's not 0. It's being consumed. Look at my time. When I press F1, I'm 5 minutes in. This is all good. This is very good. Now let's make some warriors. Let's start producing them. I can do that. So let's do that. Okay. Let's make them into this position. Okay. I'm gonna produce 15 overall. Now look, my housing is full. Not good. Not good at all. I need the houses. Without houses, I cannot produce villagers. Now I have 45 villagers. Now, because I want to attack, I don't need to produce villagers anymore. It's completely fine if I stop producing villagers and completely focus on making warriors. Now, I double click on the fighting pits and I press Control right click. Okay. Now look. It produced a lot. One more hut. You can get at most 60 pop. Okay? 60 pop. Now we have 0 food. Now we don't have food. That's not good. You need the food, so I'm stop producing them. Okay. Now I'm in Asia. I'm not gonna talk about Asia in particular, okay? Because that's not my goal. My goal is just to make sure you're doing the basics. In Asia, you don't need many villagers to go to the next, to actually upgrade them to the next one. You just need 1 or 2. Make the poultry yard. And the Stone Age workers can gather food. That's the advantage of Asia. Look at this. And come on, chickens. Okay. Eventually it will come up. There we go. And naturally you want to also tell your workers to produce wood in a much more efficient place and never have ideal. It's never good. But I'm not gonna talk about Asia in this part. What I'm talking about is, look at this. Before 7 minutes, I already had 12 warriors. That's a good amount to begin with. If you have an additional food source like fish, a deer, or maybe you don't have any of them, but you do know you have a boar nearby, those 12 can be very efficient at taking a boar, a mammoth, like this one, yes? You can take that animal, that boar, and then send your villagers to make a warehouse and gather the meat from it, okay? So this is the main, see? The meat, you get 400, remember, the berries produce 300, this is 400 and you get a faster rate. So, now that you have those 12, or close to 15, it doesn't matter, warriors, you send them to your opponent base. You should have scouted by now your opponent base. He should be nearby or distant, but doesn't matter, you send them in. Your opponent might not build any defenses. He might not have any pits. He doesn't have any defenses to make sure the villagers are safe. He might be in the next age, like you, but he doesn't have any defenses. So those 12 will manage to disrupt his eco, deal a lot of damage, and make a success. I definitely recommend you try that. Do it in ranked. There is no a good place to actually improve the skills of the early ages besides ranked. This is the best place to go. This is the best place you'll actually experience the early ages to the best. Okay, hope you enjoyed this video. This is my basically the main strategy you need to do for the early phase, and that's it. In 7 minutes you got all you need to do. Alright, have a good day. If you like this video, consider subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting.